Michael Turner was the kind of man people pointed at and said, "That's success." By 45, he owned one of the biggest property development companies in the city. His name was printed on half the skyline from office towers to luxury homes. He had money, reputation, and control, but in all that noise of accomplishment, there was silence at home. His wife had passed away years ago, leaving him alone with their only daughter, Lily. Lily was born with a rare condition that slowly took away her sight. By the time she was 9, she was completely blind. Michael tried everything: doctors, specialists, expensive treatments, but nothing worked. So he did what he knew best. He built walls, not the kind made of concrete, but the kind made of distance. He filled her life with comfort, but not presence. He gave her gifts, but not time. One hot afternoon, Michael decided to visit one of his new projects, a mid-rise apartment complex being built in a poor neighborhood. He usually sent his managers to these sites, but that day, Lily asked softly, "Daddy, can I go with you? I like the sound of the machines." He couldn't say no. When they arrived, the construction site was alive with noise: the hum of drills, the clang of metal, the shout of workers. Everyone straightened up when they saw him. Michael Turner wasn't just a visitor. He was a boss. His white shirt, his polished shoes, his sharp watch, they all screamed authority. But Lily, holding her white cane and her little stuffed bear, stood quietly beside the car, soaking in the sounds. Among the workers that day was a man named David Brooks. David was 38, strong and calm. He had been doing construction since he was a teenager. His hands were rough, his clothes worn, but his spirit was steady. Everyone respected him not because he was loud, but because he cared. When the lunch bell rang, most of the men went to the shade. David sat on a block of concrete, opening his lunch: a peanut butter sandwich, a banana, and a carton of milk. He looked up and saw the little girl standing alone while her father talked on the phone a few steps away, his voice sharp and impatient. "Daddy, I'm hungry," she called quietly. But Michael didn't hear her, or maybe he didn't listen. He waved his hand, signaling one of his assistants, but no one was around. David hesitated for a moment, then walked over. He removed his gloves, knelt a little, and said softly, "Hey there, you okay?" She turned her head toward the sound of his voice. "I'm fine. I'm just a little hungry," David smiled. "Well, lucky for you, I made a big sandwich. Peanut butter and jelly. You want some?" She smiled shyly. "Thank you." He tore the sandwich in half and handed it to her. Her small fingers brushed against his hand, searching. He guided it gently, helping her hold it. Then she took a bite, slow, careful, like she was tasting the world itself. They sat there together on the curb, a millionaire's daughter and a construction worker, just eating, talking, and laughing. David told her about building things, about how every brick, every nail, had its own job to do. He picked up a piece of wood and placed it in her hands. "Feel this," he said. "It's warm. That's wood. Now this one." He guided her to a piece of brick. "This one's cold and rough. Brick holds heat longer. Wood breathes. That's why homes feel alive." She ran her fingers over the textures, fascinated. You build homes? She asked. He nodded. Yeah, not big ones like your daddy, but they still stand strong. She smiled. That's nice. From a few feet away, Michael finally noticed them. A T first. Irritation rose in his chest. A stranger, sitting next to his daughter, sharing food. He started walking toward them, ready to interrupt, but then he stopped. For the first time in months, maybe years, he saw Lily laughing, not smiling politely, not pretending to be happy, actually laughing. David wasn't entertaining her. He was connecting with her, showing her the world through touch, through sound, through warmth. And Michael stood there, realizing how far away he'd been. He watched for a long time before finally walking over. David stood up quickly. Sir, I'm sorry. She was just. Michael raised his hand. It's okay. He looked at his daughter. Did you have fun, sweetheart? Yes, she said, holding up the brick. Mr. David told me what breathes. Is that true? Michael smiled faintly. Yeah, it's true. And for the first time in a long time, he meant it. That night, Michael couldn't sleep. He kept replaying that moment in his mind, the sight of his daughter smiling with someone who had nothing, yet gave everything that mattered. The next day, he returned to the construction site. He asked for David. When David arrived, he looked nervous. If this is about yesterday, sir, I just wanted to make sure your daughter was safe. Michael shook his head. It's not about that. It's about you. He paused for a long moment. You showed me something I forgot what it means to build something real. David didn't understand. Sir, Michael took a breath. I want to start something new. A foundation. For kids like Lily. For children who can't see the world the way we do, but can still feel it. He looked at David. And I want you to help me build it. David blinked in surprise. Me, sir? I'm just a construction worker. Michael smiled. No, you're more than that. You see people. You make things that last. Over the next few months, the two men worked side by side. Michael brought his resources, his business contacts, his money. David brought his ideas, his experience, and his heart. Together, they created the Lily Foundation for Sensory Learning, a project dedicated to helping blind children explore the world through texture, sound, and touch. Workshops were built, where children could feel raindrops, touch different materials, hear nature sounds, and even learn craftsmanship by hand. David became the full-time coordinator, leaving construction behind to build something much deeper: experiences. The foundation grew quickly. Parents brought their children from all over the city. News stations covered the story of a millionaire, businessman, and a humble worker who joined forces to help kids who couldn't see, but could still dream. But behind the headlines, what mattered most wasn't the fame, it was a change in Michael. He began spending more time with Lily. They visited the foundation together every weekend. She would laugh as she showed him how to identify materials by touch, the very trick David had taught her. Michael found himself learning again, not as a businessman, but as a father. He realized that for years, he had measured success in numbers, profits, deals, investments. But standing beside his daughter, hearing her laugh, he finally understood what it really meant to build something meaningful. As the years passed, the foundation expanded nationwide. Hundreds of children benefited from its programs. David became a respected speaker, sharing his story at schools and universities, and Lily grew into a confident young woman who often spoke publicly about inclusion and empathy. At one event, she stood before a crowd and said, "I may not see faces, but I can feel hearts. That's how I know who's real." The room fell silent. Her father stood in the back, tears in his eyes, realizing how far they had both come. Later that evening, Michael and David stood together, watching Lily talk with a group of children. Michael said quietly, "You know, you changed my life that day." David smiled and shook his head. "No, sir, you just started seeing what was already there." And that was the truth. David hadn't given him wisdom. He had simply reminded him how to look. Michael Turner spent decades building skyscrapers that reached for the sky. But it took one man with calloused hands and a simple act of kindness to show him how to build something greater: connection, compassion, and purpose. Sometimes the biggest changes start with the smallest moments. A sandwich shared, a laugh exchanged, a blind child feeling the warmth of a stranger's kindness. In a world obsessed with power and status, Michael learned that empathy is the one thing that truly levels us all. People don't need saving, they need seeing. And sometimes, the people we least expect are the ones who open our eyes the most. The next time you pass someone working in the heat, someone others might overlook, remember this: greatness doesn't always wear a suit. Sometimes, it wears a hard hat, holds a sandwich, and offers it with a smile. Because true wealth isn't measured in money, it's measured in moments that make us human. And that day, on a dusty construction site, Michael Turner finally became rich in the way that mattered most.